Yo, so what is up guys? So Samsung has recently just had another Galaxy Impact event. This one was kind of important just because it marks 7 years of Samsung foldables, and so, let's talk about them. So the video itself will actually have chapters and video notes, so if you want to skip around in the video, you want to hear about a certain thing, totally feel free to do it, not stopping you. First, we're just going to start with the Z Fold 7 and just the design of the Z Fold 7. So really, Samsung's kind of taking an approach with how thin they can possibly make this phone. So when the phone is folded, it is about 8.9 millimeters thin. And if you compare that to last year's model, which was 12.1 millimeters thin, that's probably a big difference. And if you compare it to the S25 Ultra being around 8.2 millimeters thin, that's pretty good. And especially, you can cut it in half whenever you unfold it, and it will probably be around 4 to 4.5 millimeters thin when it's unfolded. So that's pretty good. Obviously, Samsung has worked a long time to do this, and doing that, they have built a new flex hinge just to adapt for the new body and the new style. The body itself is aluminum, and we still have different forms of Gorilla Glass. I'm talking Gorilla Glass Ceramic 2 on the cover display and Gorilla Glass Victus 2 on the back panel display. The flips are still, a special, unique type of phone just because you can use the back cameras and the different things and the different features that it offers. The colors, which are pretty good this year, especially the mint color, which is going to be an online exclusive. And then you got blue shadow, silver shadow, and jet black for the Fold. So that's pretty good. The cameras for the Z Fold 7, you're going to be getting a 200 megapixel wide lens, which is actually going to sort of identify the same lens that the S25 Ultra has. You're also going to get a 12 megapixel ultra wide, a 10 megapixel telephoto with 3x optical zoom, and of course, two 10 megapixel front and inner display cameras. What this will do is just, you can use your phone obviously in different angles and different areas. The 200 megapixel wide lens is definitely going to help a lot. I will say that Samsung is sort of leaving the approach from the under display camera tech. Now, that doesn't mean it could never happen again, because the under display camera tech was pretty good for the time, but it also just didn't really look good too. It was, it was a little fuzzy, and it was just a little, it couldn't get color correct. And so I'm glad Samsung is kind of going back to the 10 megapixel camera just because they realized that it wasn't perfect. For the processor, it's going to be the Samsung Exynos chip, 2500. Samsung hasn't moved really back to Snapdragon for the folding phones. As always, if you guys want to learn more about these chips, there will be pictures on the screen, so like how fast it is and how much faster it was from the last year's model. The battery itself, it is going to be a 4,400 milliamp hour battery, which is about 24 hours of video playback compared to last year's 23 hours. Not really a huge major jump, but it's still not bad. It's still not terrible. And so the storage, you're going to be able to upgrade this from 256 gigs to 1 terabyte of storage. The RAM, you're going to be getting 12 gigabytes of RAM. The price of this phone starting is going to be $1,199.99. Again, it's a premium phone, it's a premium device, and so you're going to be expecting, that premium price range. I'm still glad that Samsung is still doing this technology, and, the technology is still continuing to improve, and so that's very good. So the Flip 7 itself hasn't really gotten as big of a design change necessarily. Really, you're actually going to notice the biggest design change, and that is going to be on the front display. The front display, rather than it being around 4 to 3 inches, it's now 4.1 inches. So now it covers the whole display, and it goes, around the whole camera, so it covers the whole camera. They're obviously opening the API for other people to use, and for other people to develop different apps or different ways for you to use it. Like Spotify, I'm sure, is going to adjust from their last cover screen to this new cover screen. I'm not actually sure if they still call this the flex window necessarily. I would actually still call it a flex window if it was me. The thickness is still about the same when folded. I mean, they did shave off about 0.3 millimeters, but that's not really, a big step up. Same, new flex hinge. Again, Samsung always puts a new hinge in each foldable just to make it, a little bit better and a little bit more resistant. Aluminum body, of course, and the colors, which again, Mint is going to be the online exclusive, obviously, but it's probably one of my favorite ones just because they did a very good job with it. You got blue shadow, jet black, coral red, which I'm going to be honest, looks very peachy, looks red, of course, but it also sort of looks more beachy, peachy. If you really like bright colors, then you'll definitely like coral red or the actual color mint. For the cameras themselves, you're going to be getting a 12 megapixel ultra wide lens and a 50 megapixel 2x optical zoom lens for that main sensor. The front display will obviously have a 10 megapixel front camera just for the front. However, again, the most special part about having a foldable is that it is adjustable. So you can use, that 50 megapixel wide lens on the back to, take selfies, or you can use ultra wide on the back and you can see what you're doing. And so personally, I think that is one of the main advantages of having a foldable phone. It's just because it's, so easy to do things like that it just works great. For the processor itself, again, more images on the screen. You're going to be getting the same Samsung Exynos 2500 chip. I believe this is going to be actually a slower one, just considering that the specs are a little bit slower than what we saw on the folding phone. For the battery itself, you're going to be getting a 4,300 milliamp hour battery, which adds about 8 hours more battery from the Z Fold 6, or from the Z Flip 6. So this one actually now gets 31 hours of video playback, which sounds insane. I will definitely put on the screen if the battery itself is silicon carbide, because, people have been sort of switching to the silicon carbide batteries rather than using the lithium ion. But yeah, that's a pretty good improvement, especially if it's by 8 hours, instead of that plus 1 hour from the Fold 7. The storage, you're going to be getting 256 gigabytes base, and then you can upgrade it to 512 gigabytes if you want that extra room and that extra mind of peace. 12 gigabytes of RAM as always, and the price, again, it's a premium phone, premium device. It's going to be $1,099.99. So almost that $1,100 mark. I will say that, buying phones off of Samsung.com, they do a lot of cool discounts. They do a lot of great deals. Like they actually, whenever I was looking all of this up, they offered to upgrade my storage on the Z Fold to 512 gigabytes for free. So that's definitely very nice, especially if you pre-order these phones. That's definitely another reason why you should pre-order the phone. I'm not sure if pre-orders have ended when recording this video. I'm a little bit late to the party when doing it. Last thing, and this is kind of like outro moment. It's no like major video. Samsung has also released a Galaxy Flip 7 FE, which is the fan edition. The main key takeaway about this phone is that it is cheaper, going at around $899. It is the budget phone. Again, budget phones are sort of trying to take a higher place and starting to get more expensive. Not nothing phones, obviously, but some budget phones like the iPhone 16e, this phone especially, they're not cheap and they're definitely not ideal for the customer. If I were you, I would just buy the Fold 7 or the Flip 7, just because the phone itself, you're going to get that 4-inch display rather than the old 3-inch cover display. You will still have the same processor in the phone as the current 2500 Exynos chip that's in the Fold 7 and the Flip 7. But yeah, I don't really see it. But I'm glad Samsung is sort of, starting to make the tech cheaper for the average consumer. Definitely not cheap enough for me because that's expensive. And, I'm the guy that doesn't really upgrade his phone as much. But let me know what you guys think about this whole, switch over for Samsung, and, just the amount, like the fact that the Fold 7 is 3 millimeters thinner than it was last year. Definitely smash that like button, you guys. Hit that subscribe button. Let me know what you guys think, and hit the social links if you guys want to follow us over there, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. So yeah, peace out.